There you go. We're live on the John Lavinia's Success Mastermind General Session, 16th of September already, 2021. This is our general session where the mastermind group gets together to discuss issues, share ideas, and we generally, as anyone will know that's watched this before, we'll have a 15 or 20-minute dialogue and then questions and thoughts and answers and solutions and ideas. So let's see how we go today. I think I'll start off and people will dial in as I get going. Just housekeeping wise, yes, there's another session tonight. I believe it's in the calendar anyway. Brand Builder with Shannon is tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. That's always a great session, really practically focused on practical hands-on business issues, what to do, how to get your brand out there, how to market yourself, and all the considerations that go with that. So well worth watching. If anyone can join tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, rather late in the UK, but stateside, hopefully we can all dial in. So I'm going to kick off without further ado, and really just to say that I was brought up very short reading recently, and at the weekend I was brought up short and stopped in my tracks by a give way sign on life's highway. And that's what I'm calling today's talk, because the give way sign on life's highway took the form of some articles I was reading and a piece of philosophy I was directed to as a result, which basically reminded me, sorry folks, but we just can't fit everything into a lifetime, not even in a whole lifetime. And we shouldn't waste the precious time we have therefore. Sounds obvious, but we drift along, we try and do everything. And actually, I had to sit down and think, yes, they're right. You just can't do everything. To succeed, in other words, in something else has to give way. There is a give way sign. You've got to leave the rest of this stuff behind at the sign to carry on the right journey. And in fact, everything else has to give way. That's the real harder part of the message. Everything else has to give way as you set your target and decide on what is of value that you are going to offer to the world, your family, your community, your friends, whatever this chosen mission, chosen objective is, everything else is going to have to give way at this give way sign. Which we sort of knew, but we never think about it. And we keep trying to pile high lists of tasks and things that we have to do, trying to fit more and more into the day, trying to do more and more and more, and perhaps feeling guilty that we don't. But actually this is not the way to go. We all know what we have to do, but it's so hard avoiding making that error again and again and again, and just piling on those tasks and not really saying, hang on, why am I doing this? What is it that really matters to me? And how do I go about doing that? Not the rest of the stuff. So the fundamental error we keep repeating, believing that we can fit into our life everything we want to do, that there's an infinite time span, and that no matter how long we plan, how long we pause, there's plenty of time to do what it is we were made for. Sadly, not the case. I hit that give way sign at life's highway junction, or rather it hit me. And the article basically said to me, I might only have 1,040 weeks left, which stopped me dead. The article told me this, and it was staring me in the face in black and white, the shocking, unavoidable truth. And they based this on the idea that a younger person might have 4,000 weeks, but that basically, let's say I have 20 years, I'll just say 20 years, 52 weeks a year, that's the 1,040. So a younger person gets more, but at some of the ages we've already reached, we don't have that many weeks. And you might be saying, as we would say in the UK at this point, crumbs. What on earth are we going to do about that? This can't be true. 1,040 weeks, it just can't be true. It's not enough. It doesn't sound like enough. I thought of everything. I thought of buying a new calculator, seeking ways to rationalize this horrible truth, explaining to myself that it didn't really matter, but unfortunately it does. And I knew that it mattered, and I knew I had to face it. So this is why I hit the give way sign on life's highway, telling me that there's something was going to have to give. Something was going to have to give way. We have to give things up. We have to put things aside. We have to really say, what is this one thing that we're going to focus on? I have to decide what it is. We all have to. And more importantly, as a result of that, we've got to decide what not to focus on. Because if we don't do that, we clearly won't succeed at focusing on what's important. It's what not to focus on that matters just as much. And I've talked about this before. Now, at this point, I was directed to read a bit of Seneca, the Roman philosopher. Seneca on the Shortness of Life, wonderful passages, which I recommend everybody read. And he basically said, and I'll quote a little bit of it as we go along, as it's worth hearing it. The majority of mortals complain bitterly of the spitefulness of nature because we are born for a brief span of life, because even this space that has been granted to us rushes by so speedily and so swiftly that all save a very few find life at an end just when they are getting ready to live. Well, that's absolutely classic behavior. We've all gone there. We wait, believing it's going to be better tomorrow, that we'll have more time, things will be easier tomorrow. And we often wait, as Seneca is telling us, right until retirement or even afterwards, for that job that we never liked to finish, for that situation to change, for something to come into line so that we can start doing what we really love and what really matters to us. But how remarkable is it, unfortunately, that it never really seems to get easier. We mysteriously have less time rather than more, and the perfect tomorrow never actually comes. So Seneca is telling us very clearly not to wait to act, not to get ready to live just as life is ending. That's something to really hold on to. Seneca again, he said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And how true that is as well. Yes, by all means, let's clear the decks and let's focus. But even then, we could still waste an awful lot of the time that we've allotted for doing important things. So don't waste it. We've got a lot of time if we choose to use it well, Seneca is reminding us. He then went on to say, just as great and princely wealth is scattered in a moment when it comes into the hands of a bad owner, while wealth, however limited, is if it is entrusted to a good guardian, increases by use, so our life is amply long for him who orders it properly. Our life is amply long for those who order it properly. So again, he's reminding us about order and the need for that order in terms of not dissipating these 1,040 weeks that I've just been told I have. Shocking though it may be. So we need, in other words, to consciously prioritize and to shovel the path clear of every other piece of debris, of the fallen autumn leaves, of I'll call them, of previous failed endeavors or incomplete endeavors. We've got to learn to clear the path and just get on with it now and focus really clearly. We need to have a well-ordered and clear priority action list in place for everything that we're seeking to do. But those actions and those lists must clearly relate to the chosen priority goal, not just to everything that comes onto our radar. We've got to keep that list very clearly focused on those priority goals and only those. So let's perhaps take a look at our action list and see how many items actually relate to our priority goals and how many are really just chaff on the radar, jamming that radar screen in our days with subsidiary tasks, as I'll call them, that will not, absolutely will not put us on top of our mountain, the one we're seeking to climb. So I had to sweep the path clear on Monday after reading all of this, and I took immediate priority action. I'd been buried in piles of tasks, towering above me, but not carrying me aloft to where I was trying to fly. So it really, really is time to act. 1,040 weeks, I was told. And I thought, crumbs, yes, it is time to act. Are we taking action rather than waiting? Which first steps can we initiate straight away? Don't put that action off, in other words, until you're ready to live, i.e. retirement. Start right now and at least do something, even if it's not everything you can do, at least do something every day towards that ultimate goal. And then, have we really selected that one thing, that burning desire yet? We've discussed this at great length in the group many, many times, but it takes a lot of soul searching, but it is worth doing, and it's so important to do it because we're going to waste those weeks that we've been allotted if we don't. And how do you feel about the activities you're currently engaged in? Go through them all, perhaps. We could all do this. Is there anything that when you compare it to other activities and tasks, just doesn't seem to fit, doesn't seem to feel as important to you, or a priority towards the things that clearly get you towards your goal? Is that how some of those things make you feel? If so, why are they on that list? Should they actually be there? Should they form part of this crammed in daily time that we're trying to squeeze everything into? So Seneca's message really, and the message from the article was, don't just seek to cram in more, cramming more in and becoming more efficient is not the answer. And here's another theme. How many things do we read and how many books and courses do we look at where the idea is to get more efficient and cram in as much as possible? Well, that's not the answer. The answer is to clear the radar in the first place and then allocate what is important into that time. And I think some of these things are leading us down the wrong path. And that was the gist of the article written by an author whose book has just come out, Oliver Burkeman, 4,000 weeks. 4,000 weeks on the basis that a younger person has 4,000 weeks to live or thereabouts. And as we get older, unfortunately, we burn a lot of those 4,000 weeks. So in my case, it's about 1,040 perhaps left. If I'm lucky, maybe 1,500, but it isn't a lot. So it's what we are doing and why that matters. It's not the battle to cram in and compete for time as much as possible. That is not the answer. It's not going to get us anywhere near where we intend to go. Finding the one thing, we've talked about that. I mean, I've recommended in the past, but I'll recommend again, Simon Sinek's Find Your Why, the Little Book of Results by Jamie Smart, things that focus on trying to connect with your why, because we have to do that in order to clear this space for that one thing, so we can use those 4,000 or declining to however many thousand weeks left we've got. And then setting steps and tasks. Well, only when we have this clear mission can we really set down those steps that are going to take us from A to B on this new and focused path of what I'll call using your life weeks. These life weeks are so precious. So only when we've got this use of our life weeks clear should we then try to prepare tasks lists, use the planning apps, use the planning software we've all talked about, the 12-week plans, the Monday system, the Asana, the Gantt timelines. None of that's going to work if we don't set out in the first place with a very clear view and with this mindset of not letting anything else in, because there will always be something else competing for some of those weeks. So on prioritizing and time planning, that all goes with this. And again here, let's look at John's book. It's in the book club. Anyone watching this, he's recorded several episodes covering his own book, Integrity is Everything. So let's stay committed and true to ourselves. Let's be on purpose, but for a well-defined purpose that we're very, very much aware of and that's in the forefront of our priorities. So if we're committed to a goal, then we really won't need some of these prioritization systems. We've all talked about the 1, 3, 5 list, the 5 priorities a day in order list. We won't even need those if we're very clear on what it is we're committed to, and that is it. Because we will naturally seek and wish to prioritize that if we're connected to it and we love it. So, how many times, I've just said, do we lose sight of what prioritization actually means? It just doesn't mean, I'll say again, creating a huge pile of growing tasks and then attempting to prioritize those. That is a fool's race, which will take us round in circles. We end up with this huge pile, larger and larger pile, and then we try and order those tasks in priority. Absolutely not, they're telling us. Not going to help. You'll just get more and more things to do, running around getting stressed out about how to become more efficient, rather than saying, I've got too many tasks on this list. They shouldn't be there. They just should not be there. Forget prioritizing them, get them off. So all we do is just add more and more prioritized, aligned, non-aligned items to this list, rather than the things that matter. Very, very important. It really made me think. It really made me think. And again, I've mentioned this before, but we can only win the Olympic gold medal in one discipline at a time. Are we seriously going to attempt, while trying for the cycling gold, to try a bit of swimming, horse racing, archery, and then being the fastest at 100 meters at the same time? It does sound kind of crazy when you put it that way, and it really is. But we do that most days. That's exactly what we try and do. We try and take on the cycling gold, but at the same time, cram in that archery, horse riding, and 100 meters practice. And surprise, surprise, we don't tend to get anywhere near the cycling gold as a result, which is not our intention, not our purpose, and not the purpose of using those beautiful weeks that we've been allocated. Anyway, so that was really food for thought. And at this point, I'm going to open up in a minute, but I thought I'd read a bit of Ecclesiastes, if you can bear with me, because I also thought of that when contemplating these problems. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 to 8, a very famous passage. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Now that beautiful passage really came into my mind when I was thinking about what we've just been talking about, because this really is our time to live those beautiful weeks we've been given, whether it's 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, whatever it is, they are beautiful weeks, and it is a gift that we have them. So it's really our time now to live and be on purpose in pursuit of that one thing, whatever it is, that one gold medal, that one pursuit, that one goal that you've set for yourself that you love more than any other goal. We have to yield, though, at the give way sign on life's highway if we're going to fulfill that dream and that objective. We have to make choices. We have to leave baggage by the side of the road at the sign before we carry on. We cannot do everything in the time that's been allotted to us. We must choose. And according to Seneca, his advice was live every day as if it were your last. Do only what matters. In other words, we cannot do everything. And that brings us to saying live in the now, right here and now, and act on that one thing now and feel it now. Don't just plan for the future, create lists, create plans, create projects that at some point you're going to do. Right now, you can act in your protected priority time in your day on the one thing that really matters to you. So let's not lose sight of that. I certainly will try not to. It's shaken me up a lot, brought me up short at the sign, and forced me to think. So I'd love to hear at that point any of your thoughts on all of this, but it struck me with some force, and I have been trying to act on it, promise. And I have already seen some changes, which is great. So I'd love to hear from you all. If you have anything to reflect on, anyone stuck and not acting, anyone feeling that, anyone wanting to shed some baggage, to focus on a main priority, any advice on how to focus on that priority and find it, refocusing our energies, any thoughts on any of that would be really, really welcome. So who's going to come out? Anyone going to come out and say their piece on how they feel they're getting on? Julia was waving a hand there. Julia?
Yes, you touched a nerve because I have been very aware of this. I would say over the last year in particular, just the limited amount of time that is left in one's life. And I have made some changes, although I feel like I'm backsliding. But, one of my priorities is to make a quilt for each of my grandchildren, and I've accomplished 2 out of 9, so I better get going. For a while this past year, I actually set aside, like 4 hours in a week to work on that. And I did finish the second quilt, and now, I'm back to not finding time. So anyway, it struck a nerve in a good way. Adrian, I didn't mean that it did it in a negative way. It's just, I do realize how little time is left. I read a book probably 5 years ago, something called, I think it was like 20,000 days, something like that, which is really in effect the same thing that you're talking about. I may have the number wrong. But that one shook me up a little too, and that was several years ago. So I think we need to be shaken up periodically so that we don't just go on in our steady stream of the everyday busyness. Part of that is what made me quit the last job I had as well, was I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing this. And to be honest, that made me quit the marriage I had some 25 years ago or something like that, thinking because my mother had recently died and she was only 61, and I was thinking at the time as I was approaching 40, gosh, it's been 30 years, you know, if all I have is 20 years left, do I want to be in this marriage? Do I want to be miserable? If I have more than 20 years, do I want to be in this marriage and be miserable? And, you know, you don't know how much or how little you're going to have. So what's the point of being miserable? Whatever it is, job, person, partner, whatever. Anyway, that's my rambling 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Great, Julia. I mean, you know, we know this, but how many times do we fall back into the same traps and the same behaviors and find that we're wasting time on things that when we stand back really don't matter? Right. So as you say, we need shaking up on this from time to time, but I haven't yet come up with a system that prevents me from going back off the path, unfortunately. And I'm going to have to study that now, because reading that article, here it was again, the obvious truth, but something we can easily forget when we get very busy. And let's face it, that's one of the negative effects of the positive things that have come out of COVID for all of us. We've taken on more and more and got more engaged in a lot of interesting things, but the danger is we don't keep sorting out what is priority and what is not priority. So I agree with you. It's a wake-up call and a shake-up that we need. And it certainly made me think. But thanks, Julia. Gail has a hand up.
Yeah, hi. I just, it hit me too, you know, with what you said. I've never, ever seen or thought or read anything about how many weeks you have left. And that's a little scary for me, because I'm going to be 75 on the 5th of October. And then who knows how long, you know, but it really makes you stop and think, and makes you think, gee, I have to prioritize and find out what's the most important thing for me and my life, and concentrate on those and get it done quickly, as quickly as possible. But thank you. That was good.
No, thanks, Gail. I mean, you know, as Seneca was telling us, we've got plenty of time, even with a shorter number of weeks left, providing we use them really well and then we order the time really well. So we can all do this, no matter how little time. You know, it's amazing how much you can achieve. And I've said this before. Have you ever forgotten to set your alarm clock, woken up late for a meeting and had to panic and rush out? Well, it's actually amazing how quickly you can get ready when that happens. So we can do it when we really have to. It's just that we get into a comfort zone where we glide a bit and coast a bit, and time can just flow out of the door on a few cups of tea, on pausing over the screen, on reading a bit of social media, whatever is distracting us.
Yeah, that's me
actually,
right now.
Well, we all go there. So if we could only create our day, and this is where this Pomodoro technique, for example, comes in, putting the 25-minute timer on, so you get a reminder that 25 minutes is gone, you have a quick break, and then you try and hyper concentrate for the next 25 minutes. Things like that do help. But you know, we've got plenty of time, Gail. You've got a lot of time. You could achieve the most incredible things in the time you have left, and we all could. And look at the business people, the great orators, the great artists that have done that at a very late stage in their lives. So it's really possible, but we've got to be really committed. I think what it's telling me is that with our 4,000 weeks when we're young, we can afford to mess around a bit, go a bit off focus, have a bit of a jolly, but we can't do that when we get to our ages. We've really got to make those days count, and we owe it to ourselves to do that. So I'm really going to take notice of this. It was quite a statistic, as you say, that hit me right between the eyes.
Yeah. Thank you.
So anyone else with any thoughts today? Oh, Julia?
Yeah, sorry to monopolize the conversation. I also have been thinking about how everything in my life does not have to be purpose-driven, that experiencing life, experiencing conversations, beauty, taking walks. I mean, I am fortunate in that I'm mostly retired. I'm pretty busy for being a mostly retired person, and some of that needs to go. But part of what's come up for me is that we've been talking about Wake Up and Live by Dorothea Brand in the book study. And I haven't gotten through all of it, but the first 4 chapters are all about all the ways we waste our time and all that. And it strikes me that I don't want my whole life to be in pursuit of money. I don't want my whole life to be in pursuit of business. I want to enjoy people. I want to enjoy a good book. And if I want to do a crossword or a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle, by golly, I'm going to do it. I don't see it as a waste of time. Now, she does talk about people who are, just kind of wasting their time doing repetitive things, like somebody watching soap operas or somebody doing jigsaw puzzles all the time. And believe me, I've seen people who have on social media who just pride themselves on how many puzzles they can get done in a week. And that's not me. But I think we have to keep in perspective that life is also about the living and the enjoying and the quality of our experiences, and make sure that, or at least for me, that's part of the priority. Because I could easily spend my entire life in front of this computer, and what I would miss, these beautiful days. We've been so blessed to have wonderful meals outside with friends and with the people who are staying with us. And I wouldn't give that up for $1 million. I really wouldn't. That would not be my, what am I trying to say? My ideal day wouldn't be go spend my $1 million somewhere, whatever. Anyway, that's just something I wanted to throw out there. You can just.
Julia, that's brilliant. And you're absolutely on the mark with this. And I recommend again the book that's just come out, Oliver Burkeman, 4,000 Weeks, which was where all the references to Seneca came from. He hit on two things, and one of them is what you've just been saying. In other words, the first thing was what I mentioned about just trying to get more efficient, cram more into the day, and then finding suddenly you've got more to do. But the second one was that we've now done that with our leisure time. We feel under pressure to be creating things and making hobbies into side gigs and using our leisure time more efficient. And he says, just enjoy it for the sake of it. That's what it's there for. So you're absolutely right about that. Don't get into the trap with e-commerce and online business of thinking, wow, if I don't make this little activity here into a side gig, it's a failure, because that just stresses us out even more and we have no downtime at all. So yes, if we use our ordered days properly, we can get a lot done, but also do give yourself, as you say, that downtime just for the sake of it. As one of my friends says, gay abandon. You just go running around, running around the forest, whatever you want to do, run into the sea, but just get it out and just have that time where nothing has to come out of it. Surprising sometimes what does, but nothing has to come out of it. There doesn't have to be a purpose to it, otherwise than the enjoyment of the moment. So I absolutely agree with you, Julian. I think that's a really, really important point that comes up as part of this. I really agree with that.
And on that note, I agree totally. And I'm going to leave now because my 11-year-old granddaughter has no school today because of the Jewish holiday. And I told her earlier, we are going to go out to a food truck that's in our area to have lobster rolls. And then I'm going to take her to a farm so she can pick some apples. She's going to do the picking. I can't, not with my back and my arms and everything. And I told her, to be ready. So I have to go now, but thank you very much for everything. It was a great topic today. Thank you.
Amazing, Gail. Go for it. And I wish we were all coming with you. This sounds irresistible, actually. I think I'll rush out and try and find a food truck in my area. This sounds great. So go for it. And it's been great. Lovely that you joined us. Have a good day. Have a great time.
I will.
So we've had some great contributions, really great contributions. And I hope those were useful thoughts. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to dive in and say anything further at this point, but food for thought, as they say. So if we can just keep reminding ourselves, perhaps we should have a session like this once a month. So we remind ourselves, hang on a minute, the clock is ticking. Let's use it really well. And let's do those great things, because I know you're all capable of these things, all of you. And I really want to see those. It's great when I see somebody coming up with some product or service they're launching. I just absolutely love it. And I know everyone can do it. So let's get it out there as quickly as we can and not waste any days not doing what we're really connected to. Just connect and then go for it. So thank you, everybody. Let's not forget there's a session tonight, Brand Builder with Shannon, 8 o'clock Eastern time, I believe. It's on the calendar. You know where to find the links, etc. So hopefully see you there. If not, we'll be back on tomorrow as usual. For the sessions tomorrow. end of the week coming up, believe it or not. So that's one of those weeks, folks. I'm going to use it to the max before it expires. So great to see you all. Thank you so much for dialing in. Lovely, lovely to have you all here as usual. And speak later on. Take care. Have a great and useful, productive day. Bye for now.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Adrian.
Bye.
It was
Bye, bye,
wonderful.
bye.
Really good.
Thank you, Juliet. Well, your contributions were great. You've absolutely hit it nail on the head. I absolutely agree with you.
You were putting it all in there. Really
Right.
helpful.
Well, it was very kind of you to contribute. Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Bye
So
for now.
enjoy your day, everyone.
Enjoy. Yes, enjoy, everybody. Goodbye. Bye, 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 bye.